Ambassador Velthar's membrane quivered as he input the final coordinates into the emergency beacon. The Kresh armada had broken through the outer defensive perimeter, and the Coalition's combined fleet was falling back in disarray. 63 worlds hung in the balance, and the ancient protocols demanded desperate measures. "Are you certain about this?" his aide whispered, her vocal sac pulsing with anxiety. "The Terrans have been isolated for only 3 cycles. We don't even know if they've survived the quarantine period." Velthar's 3 eyes focused on the beacon's display. "We have no choice. The database lists them as a Class 7 civilization from a Deathworld designation. If even half the initial survey reports were accurate." He pressed the activation sequence before doubt could take hold. Captain Maria Santos was reviewing supply manifests when the alert chimed across the bridge of the UNS Indomitable. Around her, 17 other Earth Defense Fleet vessels drifted in formation, their crews conducting routine patrols at the edge of human-controlled space. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal," Lieutenant Chen reported, his fingers dancing across his console. "It's using the old Coalition frequency, the one they gave us before they threw up the quarantine barrier." Maria's jaw tightened. 3 years had passed since the Galactic Coalition had visited Earth, assessed humanity's homeworld, and promptly declared it a restricted death world. They'd been polite but firm. Humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, products of a world that had tried to kill them at every evolutionary turn. The galaxy wasn't ready for them. "Translation?" she asked. "Coming through now. They're begging for military assistance. Something called the Kresh Dominion has invaded Coalition space. They're requesting immediate aid from any available forces." Chen looked up, confusion evident on his face. "Captain, they're broadcasting to us specifically. They've lifted the quarantine protocols." Maria allowed herself a thin smile. "How convenient. Plot a course to the coordinates, and send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the galaxy finally remembered we exist. Battle stations, people. Let's see what these Kresh are made of." The Coalition's 3rd Fleet was in full retreat when the human vessels emerged from FTL. Velthar watched the tactical display with mounting horror as Kresh warships tore through his defensive formations like they were made of vapor. The Coalition had thought themselves the apex of military might, but the Kresh possessed something that turned their advantage into ash. Utter ruthlessness. Then the sensors detected the new arrivals. "Unknown vessels entering combat zone," the tactical officer announced. 17 ships, mid-range mass. They're charging directly at the Kresh Vanguard." Velthar's blood went cold. "Get me communications with those ships. They'll be destroyed." But the human fleet didn't slow. They accelerated. Maria Santos had spent her entire military career preparing for threats that might never come. Humans had been fighting wars since before they had written language, refining the art of organized violence through millennia of bitter experience. Every human warship was designed by minds that understood one fundamental truth. The universe was hostile, and survival meant being more hostile in return. "Kresh vessels are hailing us," Chen reported. "They're laughing? The translation matrix is having trouble, but I think they're mocking our ship numbers." "Let them laugh," Maria said quietly. "Target the lead Kresh battleship. Full missile barrage followed by railgun saturation fire. All ships break formation and engage at will. Show them what a death world builds when it decides to leave home." The Indomitable shuddered as its missile tubes vomited their payload into space. 300 warheads, each carrying a fusion-pumped plasma charge, streaked toward the Kresh formation. The railguns followed microseconds later, accelerating tungsten slugs to 0.4% of light speed. The Kresh battleship's shields lit up like a dying star, and then they failed. The tungsten penetrators punched through armor that had turned aside every Coalition weapon. The missiles found the wounds and poured fire into them. In 7 seconds, a vessel that had destroyed 4 Coalition cruisers simply ceased to exist, replaced by an expanding cloud of superheated debris. "Holy," Chen whispered. "Target the next one," Maria said, and somebody put some music on. "Wagner, I think. Let's give them a proper welcome to human space warfare." Velthar couldn't process what he was seeing. The human ships moved like nothing he'd witnessed before, not with the elegant precision of Coalition formations, but with violent, unpredictable aggression. They didn't maneuver to avoid fire. They maneuvered to ensure the enemy couldn't escape theirs. A Kresh destroyer attempted to flee, 2 human vessels broke pursuit of their current targets and ran it down like predators chasing wounded prey. They didn't just destroy it, they obliterated it, continuing to fire even after the ship had lost structural integrity. "They're not fighting to win territory," his aide breathed. "They're fighting to kill." Within 18 minutes, the Kresh vanguard that had terrified 3 coalition fleets had been reduced to drifting wreckage. The remaining Kresh forces executed an emergency FTL jump, abandoning the battlefield entirely. The human fleet regrouped and transmitted a simple message. "Coalition vessels, this is Captain Santos of the United Nations ship Indomitable. The immediate threat has been neutralized. We're ready to discuss terms of our mutual defense arrangement. Oh, and Ambassador Velthar, next time you need allies from a death world, maybe don't wait until you're desperate. We take that personally." Later, as Velthar's repair crews worked to salvage what remained of the Third Fleet, he studied the tactical recordings again and again. The humans hadn't just won. They'd made it look effortless. Their ships were smaller, their fleet outnumbered, but they'd brought weapons and tactics forged in the crucible of a world that had spent 4 billion years trying to kill everything on it. The galaxy had quarantined humanity because they were too dangerous. The galaxy had just learned that sometimes dangerous was exactly what you needed. His aide approached cautiously. "Ambassador, Earth Command is transmitting new coordinates. They're asking us to attend a diplomatic summit. They want to discuss expanded cooperation and mutual defense protocols." Velthar's membrane rippled with what might have been amusement or terror. "Send our acceptance and update the coalition database. Change humanity's classification from restricted deathworld species to essential strategic ally." He paused, watching the human fleet maintain their protective formation around the damaged coalition vessels. "And someone remind me," he added quietly, "to never ever make them angry at us." Outside, the stars burned cold and distant, and 17 human warships stood guard. Deathworlders who had answered the call, and in doing so, had changed the galaxy forever.